If you've ever asked yourself, who am I, really? If you've ever felt like you're wearing a mask just to be accepted, this video is for you. Like, subscribe, and comment if this speaks to something inside you. There's a version of you that only exists in the eyes of others. It speaks politely when you want to scream. It smiles when you're breaking inside. It performs. It adapts. It survives. This version isn't false, but it's not the whole truth either. From childhood, we learn, be a good kid. Don't cry too much. Don't be too loud. Make others comfortable. So we shape ourselves not into who we are, but into who we think we should be. We wear the mask, and after years, that mask sticks, until one day, you forget who you were before you wore it. Psychologist Carl Jung said, "The persona is the mask we wear to meet the world, but we mistake it for our true self." You might think, I'm just a nice person. I'm always available. I always put others first. But sometimes, that niceness is fear in disguise. Fear of being disliked. Fear of conflict. Fear of not being enough. The ego wants to be accepted, so it builds an identity that's pleasing, impressive, admirable. You become the smart one, the reliable one, the strong one, and slowly you tie your worth to these roles. But what happens when you don't want to be strong today? You make a mistake, you fail, you feel like you're no one. That's the danger of confusing the mask with yourself. You become a prisoner of your image. You smile in group photos, but feel empty when alone. You say, I'm fine, but you haven't felt fine in months. You help everyone, but deep down, wish someone would ask if you're okay. We live in a world that rewards performance. How many followers you have, how productive you are, how happy you seem. But your soul doesn't care about any of that. Your soul longs to be seen, truly seen. Not for what you do, not for how you look, but for who you are when no one's watching. Have you ever met someone and felt like you could breathe around them because you didn't need to pretend? That's authenticity. That's the real you underneath the layers. But to return to that place, you must dare to remove the mask. And that's scary, because what if, without the mask, no one likes you? What if you're not enough? But the deeper truth is this: if you're only loved for your mask, you'll never feel truly loved. Because deep down, you'll always know they don't love you. They love the version you perform. So you begin to take small steps. You say no, even when it disappoints someone. You admit you're struggling, even if it makes you look weak. You show up imperfect, messy, vulnerable, real, and something beautiful happens. You lose people who only loved your mask. But you find people who love your truth. This isn't easy. Unmasking is a lifelong process. You'll still feel tempted to perform. You'll still hear the voice that says, "Don't say that, they might judge you. Don't show that part, it's too much." But now, you'll notice it. You'll pause, And you'll ask, am I being me, or am I being who I think they want me to be? And maybe for the first time, you'll choose you, not the mask, not the role, just you. And in that moment, you'll feel something return, not applause, not validation, but peace. The quiet peace of finally coming home to yourself. Sometimes the prison we live in doesn't have bars or walls. It has expectations, norms, applause, silence. And the strangest thing, most of us don't even realize we're trapped. You grow up being told, you can be anything, be yourself, follow your passion. But underneath that beautiful promise lies a subtle pressure. Be someone successful, be someone admired, be someone society approves of. You're free to choose, as long as your choice fits inside the invisible blueprint. From a young age, we're taught what matters: grades, appearance, status, productivity. You're praised when you fit in. You're corrected when you stray. So you learn quickly. Being accepted equals survival. Being different equals risk. And in chasing acceptance, you slowly trade in your truth for a version of you that's easier to digest. Philosopher Erich Fromm once said, "People run from freedom because with freedom comes responsibility." It's easier to let society define you, to become the good student, the perfect employee, the model citizen. It gives you a script to follow, an identity to wear. But somewhere along the way, you start to feel the weight of it all. Not because you've failed, but because you're succeeding at becoming someone you never chose to be. And then there's the digital world. Social media, in theory, gives us more freedom, but in practice, it tightens the cage. Now, your identity isn't just shaped by your family or culture. It's filtered through likes, comments, algorithms. You post a picture, you check how many hearts it got. You say something meaningful, silence. You try something different, they unfollow. So you adapt. You become your own brand, carefully curated, flawlessly edited, and slowly, the line between who you are and who you perform blurs. Sartre once wrote, "Hell is other people." He wasn't talking about people themselves, but about the way we lose ourselves in their gaze. You become aware of yourself as an object, to be judged, seen, approved, consumed. Even when you're alone, the audience is in your head. And yet, here's the paradox. You work so hard to fit in, but inside, you feel more alone than ever. Because no matter how much they love your image, a part of you knows they've never seen the real you. So what's the way out? First, you notice the cage. You notice how you modify your words to avoid conflict, how you dress to match expectations, how you smile when you feel empty, how you chase achievements you don't even want, and you ask, whose life am I living? Second, you stop performing, not all at once, but slowly. You say no to things that don't feel right. You express an unpopular opinion. You let silence exist without filling it with performance. You begin to reclaim space, not on a stage, not online, but inside yourself. Because freedom doesn't always look like rebellion. Sometimes it looks like stillness, like truth, like saying, "This is me, no edits." And in that space, you begin to feel alive again, not because you're doing more, but because you're finally being real. Of course, not everyone will like it. Some people liked your mask more than your truth. That's okay. You weren't born to be everyone's favorite. You were born to be whole. If you've been walking the path of self-discovery, this part may bring you to a place you've long avoided, but need to visit. Like, subscribe, and comment to let us know where this message meets you. There are parts of yourself you never dare speak aloud, thoughts you bury the moment they arise, emotions that feel too raw, too shameful, too dangerous. But they don't disappear, they wait, they become your shadow. Carl Jung called it, "The shadow is everything within us that we have refused to see or accept." It's the anger you've repressed, the jealousy you won't admit, the fear you disguise as ambition, the sadness behind your smile. You've spent years hiding it, believing that if you bury it deep enough, it won't control you. But that's the paradox. What you suppress begins to rule you. You lash out over something small. You sabotage a relationship without knowing why. You feel drained after pretending to be fine for too long, and you wonder, what's wrong with me? Nothing is wrong. You're just haunted by the parts of you never made peace with. From childhood, we were taught, don't cry, don't be angry, be strong. So you learned to fragment yourself. You kept only the good emotions. You buried the rest. But your shadow isn't your enemy. It's a mirror. It shows you what's unhealed. It shows you where love never reached. Have you ever envied someone's success and instantly felt ashamed? That's your shadow. It's not telling you you're bad. It's revealing what you truly desire but are too afraid to admit. Have you ever judged someone harshly? That's your shadow too, pointing at something within you that feels threatened, insecure, or unseen. Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. In other words, if you don't face your shadow, it becomes your life. You attract toxic relationships. You repeat harmful cycles. You chase things you don't want. You run from yourself. So how do you face the shadow? Not with force, not with shame, but with honest curiosity. You ask, what am I afraid of? What am I hiding? What do I judge in others that actually lives in me? You stop fighting it, and you start listening. At first, it hurts. You may cry. You may feel things you haven't felt in years. But that pain is your soul waking up. It's the part of you that has waited, sometimes for decades, to finally be held. The more you meet your shadow, the more you reclaim your power. You're no longer driven by unconscious wounds. You're no longer reacting, you're responding. You're no longer at war with yourself. you begin to see even your darkness has wisdom, even your flaws have purpose, even your pain has something to teach. Wholeness is not about perfection, it's about integration, bringing together the parts you show and the parts you hide. The moment you say, yes, this is me too, you become whole, not because you fixed everything, but because you stopped running. So the next time something triggers you, pause. Don't just react. Ask, what in me is being touched? And when you feel overwhelmed, don't numb it. Sit with it. Let the shadow speak. Not because it's right, but because it's real. You are not here to be flawless. You're here to be true. And truth includes both light and shadow, joy and grief, love and fear, courage and doubt. To be human is to hold both. If you've been hiding behind roles, masks, or expectations, this is your invitation to come home to your true self. Like, subscribe, and share your journey with us below. What happens when you stop trying to be someone? Not your job title, not your image, not your reputation, just you. At first it's disorienting. You've spent years learning how to perform, how to make people like you, how to succeed, impress, belong. So when you begin to remove the roles, you may feel exposed, like standing in a room with no costume on, like silence after a lifetime of noise. Who am I without the applause? Who am I when no one's watching? These are terrifying questions, but they are also sacred, because only when the noise fades can you finally hear your truth. Living authentically doesn't mean doing whatever you want. It means acting in alignment with who you are. It's no longer about being right. It's about being real. It's saying, I don't know, when you don't. It hurts when it does. No, when your body says no. It's about trusting your own voice, even when it shakes. You'll disappoint people. You'll lose some connections. That's the price of truth. But you'll gain something greater, yourself. Philosopher Kierkegaard wrote, "The greatest hazard of all, losing oneself, can occur very quietly in the world, as if it were nothing at all." And he was right. You can live a successful life, accomplished, admired, busy, and yet feel hollow inside. Because deep down, you know none of it was built from your truth. But when you begin to live from within, you move differently. You stop chasing. You start listening. You stop trying to prove. You start to simply be. And that being begins to radiate, not as performance, but as presence. People feel it. Some are drawn to it. Others are threatened by it. That's okay, because now you no longer shrink to make others comfortable. You speak up even when your voice trembles. You rest even when the world says, hustle. You honor your boundaries even when it costs you approval. And each time you choose yourself, you become more whole. Living authentically doesn't mean life gets easier, but it becomes more meaningful, Because now, your yes means yes, your no means no, your smile is real, your silence is full. You may not always know where you're going, but for the first time, you'll know who's walking the path, and that makes all the difference. So breathe, remove the mask, step out of the performance, come back home to the you before the world told you who to be. You're not too much, you're not broken, you're not behind, you're exactly where you need to be, becoming yourself. If this series helped you reconnect with your truth, leave a comment. What did you reclaim by taking off the mask? And if you haven't already, subscribe. This isn't the end, it's the beginning.